Hello and welcome to this hockey statistics video. Uh, a few weeks ago, I did a video about shot statistics and how you can combine shot statistics from different seasons into one pivot table, which allows you to work with a very large data set, even in Excel. Now, I wanted to work a bit more with shot statistics data. So in this video, the goal is to create a shot viz in Power BI. Now, this is actually really easy to do. So that's why I wanted to show it in a video. Okay, so the data file that we are going to use is this one, and you can find it on the website. But I will also create a link to it just below this video. So the data that we need is the shot statistics data, which is this table, and it has information about each shot from this season. So every single shot has information about what type of shot it is, who's the shooter, and most importantly, the X and Y coordinates. This allows us to plot the shots on a hockey rink. I also added the player ID of the shooter. I don't want to talk more about the data because we did so in the previous video as well. But that's the data that we need. Now, I also want to add a image of each player just to make this more beautiful. So to do that, I created this sheet, and first I just made a list of all unique player IDs. So this is just a list of all the players, and whenever a new player plays, he will be automatically added to this list. Then I created a formula to look up the URL. The nice thing is that on NHL.com, you can look up player images, player headshots, using only the player ID. So I just created a formula that writes in the URL and adds the player ID and then adds a JPEG in the end. So this way I have a formula that automatically adds the URL whenever a new player is added. And then I also just added the name. So that's all the data that we need in order to create this shot viz. Image URLs and shot statistics. So I'll just open the Power BI, and this is the screen that you'll see. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is we need to add the data, get the data. But we can't get the data whenever the file is open. So we'll just shut this one down and click on Get Data. And it should open, yeah. And it's a Excel workbook. And it's in my OneDrive. And shot statistics. Yeah, so this is what it looks like. And the data that we need is table 2. I probably should have called it something else, but now it's just table 2. That's the shot statistics data, so we'll add that one. And we need to add the images sheet as well. So I could just load it, but I want to show what happens if you push the transform data. Then it opens the Power Query. and we can change what we want to load to the data model. So the image files here looks great. The shot statistics looks great as well. But we could maybe, if we want to, we could remove some columns. Now, in this project, we're not going to work with on-ice statistics, so we can just remove all on-ice information here. And then it removes all those columns. We could do other things in the Power Query, but for now we'll just load the data. And this will take a little while because the file is relatively large. It has 130-some thousand rows. Yeah, so that's it. So now all the data is added to Power BI. Now we can go here to look at the data, and you have the image table and you have the shot statistics table. So everything here looks just fine. So now we have all the data we need. Now down here you can see if there's a relationship between the two tables. We need there to be so, but it automatically finds it. So the player ID of the image table is related to the player ID in the shot statistics table. So this is great because this means the image will be related to the data in the shot statistics. Okay, so now we can get started with the creation of the shot list. So the first thing we want to create a filter where you can choose the player you want to look at. So this one is just a slicer and it allows you to filter. So we could just, in this, we can add the name. And then we have the name of all the players. Now we don't want to have it in this format, but we could put it in a drop-down list. And we only want you to be able to select one player, so we'll just say single select. And in this video, I don't want to focus too much on the design and stuff like that, but we could just make this one a bit larger and make this one a bit larger, something like that. Okay. So now we have a slicer where you can choose the player you want. So we could select Aaron Ekblad, for instance. Now we also want to add a search function, which allows you to search for a player, Ovechkin, for instance. But we'll just keep it like that for now. Yeah. So the next thing we want to add is we want to add a image of the selected player. So this is where Power BI is a super tool because that's incredibly easy to do. So I'll just add a table, and in this table I'll add the image. So what we do is we'll just add the image URL, and now it just shows the URL, but we can change that by clicking on the URL and change the data category to an image URL. So just like that, we have a image of the player. Now we want the image to be just a little bit larger, so we will just go to format your visual and change the image size, so we could make it 150, for instance. Okay. And because it's a table, I can't remove this header. But what we can do is we can make it smaller and we can make it white, just like that. And I also want to remove the line. Where is that? Oh, the grid, perhaps. Yeah. So now there's no line, it's just a white, some white you have above the image, but that's fine. The last thing I want to do is I just want to minimize the padding. And that's it. Then we can move the image to the corner. And now we have a dynamic image that changes whenever you change the player. That was easy to do. Okay. So the next step is we want to plot the shots. So to do that, we'll just create a scatter plot, make it a bit larger, and what we want is we want the X and the Y coordinates. Now it only shows one plot because it sums all the x's into one value. We don't want that, so we'll just say don't summarize. And don't summarize. So these are all the shots taken by Aaron Ekblad this season. That was quite easy to do. So next step is that we want to ensure that that the plotting area has this correct size. So we'll just go here and click on the x-axis and make sure that it goes from -100 to +100. And we don't want a title. And we don't want the axis either. And then we'll just do the same for the y-axis. Make sure it goes from -42.5 to +42.5. And we will remove the title and remove the axis. Okay. Also the title we don't want. So now we have a clean scatter plot with just all the plots of the shots on it. So next thing is we want to make the background into a rink. So I'll just link to this image in the under the video, so you can find this image as well. But I got it here on my computer. Full rink. So it's not really fitted, but you'll just say fit. And there you go. So now we have all shots plotted on a hockey rink. So that was really easy to do. Again, we can decrease the padding just a little bit. Okay. So right now it shows all shots just as one dot. Now the first thing I want to do is I want to remove all block shots because we don't have the correct shot location on block shots because we don't have the shot location, we have the block location. So I'll just create a filter on the event, and this filter goes for the entire page. So here we'll just remove all block shots. Okay. So that was easy to do. And now the next thing I want to do is I want to differentiate between whether a shot is a goal, a shot on net, or a miss. So we'll just add event to the legend. So now all goals, misses, and shots have different colors. Okay, so we can just maybe go to legend, make it a bit larger, and remove the title. I also prefer to have it at the bottom center. So now we have all shots plotted, and it has different colors depending on whether or not it was a goal, a miss, and a shot. So then we can change the markers just a little bit, make them a little bit larger, like that. And we could make goals black, misses could be red, and shots on it could be blue. And then we could change the shape of the shots. Goals are triangles, misses are squares, and shots on net are just circles. So now the plot is almost done. We have all shots taken by Aaron Ekblad, and goals have a different color, different shape. And if we choose another player, we'll see his shots and so on and so on. So that was quite easy to do, I think. Now, we just want to add some filters to make the visualization just a little bit better. So we can add a few slices here. So for instance, we could add shot type. And we could just move this down here. So now you can look at all backhand shots or deflected shots or slap shots. Or you could, if you push control, you can add different types of shots, multiple types of shots. Okay, so we also want to create a filter or a slicer based on the event type. We'll just add it here. And move it down. Then you can decide to only look at the goals, or you can look at only misses or only shots on net. And we could add a slicer where we look at, if we could choose to look at home ice, and this one is we still want a vertical list, so just the two options. Okay. So clicking on this one, we're only looking at away shots or home shots. Again, super easy to do. The last thing we want to, or perhaps not the last thing, but the next thing we want to add is strength state. Like that. So you can choose to look at power play shots or even strength shots. Now these blanks one are empty net situations. Either with against an empty net or with an empty net. But these shots have no strength state in my data, and they have no XG value either. But that's it. Super easy. We could even add a date filter or a period filter, or there's plenty of things we could do. Could add a date filter here and just leave it as this way, so then you can just change the date like this. So I think that's it. I don't think I want to add more slices now. We just move it like that. I think this visualization looks quite nice as it is right now. There was one more thing. What was that? Let me just think. Oh yeah. So whenever I hover over a shot, it will show the X and the Y coordinates. This is called a tooltip. Now, the last thing I want to do is I want to add the XG value as well. So we'll just click on this one, and then on the tooltips, we'll just add the XG value. And we can, now when you hover over it, it says sum of XG. But we'll just change the name, rename to this visual, and just delete this. So now you can see the XG value of all the shots. So this one has a 9% chance of going in. Yeah, so you can play around with this. And if we select, say, Ovechkin, we could look at, see now here, he has too many different shot types. But we could look at slap shots on the power play. So you see him shooting a lot from this circle, and no surprises there. But I think that's it actually. So this was just a really quick video on how you can create a shot viz in Power BI. Really simple. So we could just save this one, put it on the desktop. I think I already have one called shot tool, so we'll just replace this one. And then we can publish it to my workspace. So I'll add this Power BI file as a link under the video as well. And we could even open the file in the Power BI service. So here we got the file. And then we could publish it to the web. And this gives us a link. So this link, you could just open, and it will actually open the visualization, and you can play around with it directly on the internet. So this is super cool. Now the last thing I want to show is that in the Power BI program, I'm allowed to export the data. So I can actually just say export and then call it yeah, so I already have a CSV file here. So if we export this data, we could just try and open it, and then you have all the data of shots taken by Alex Ovechkin on the power play and slap shots. So this is really nice. Now the problem is that you can export data directly in the Power BI program, but it's not an option if you just open the link. But I'll work on it. Maybe I can figure out how you can allow export of data. But I think that will be it for this video. If you like the video, and you like my work, you can always make a donation on hockeystatistics.com. Otherwise, just share my work, and hopefully you learn something. So that's it. Thank you for now.